We're going to get right in it today because we got a lot to chat about.
A French researcher was denied visa due to his opinions on Donald Trump. There has been a lot of misinformation over the years.
Oh boy. You know what? We're going to go back and forth with this. It's good to unmute myself. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, solution for someone's problem. We are having a heat wave in Toronto. We are having a heat wave in Toronto again. This is the second one we've had in less than a week because last week, I think Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, we had a heat wave. We are now having another one yesterday and today. Very hot, very humid. My dad said, "Oh, you should go down, about, I'd say 20-minute walk with here. They're having something called the Taste of Lawrence. It's a major street, one of the close major streets where I live. And they basically close about 4 or 5 major street blocks and have rides, games." And I said, "I ain't going out in that heat. Sorry. Nah. There's also other events going on in Toronto. Nah. That's not happening with me. I got things to do. I got shows to host. I got things to do, and I want to stay cool. To be honest, myself, heat, I don't mind. Humidity, that's a whole other game. So that's why I'm in the hoodie, because it's chilly in the broadcast studio. But we are here. We're on Black Canada Talking, broadcasting live on July 6th on a whole bunch of platforms, including Substack. We're broadcasting live on Substack. So it's another new platform for us. And it's a place where Black Canadians give their thoughts, opinions, takes on local, provincial, national, international stuff. And there is so much going on. But I don't do this without a great co-host and a gentleman. I don't believe it. He actually took some sleep time before he came on live. Yay! He gets some sleep because he's always on the move. So I want to bring up Mr. Cesar Ndema-Moussa. There we go. You're on mute, Cesar. Oh, you were? Go ahead.
Hi, Dr. Vibe. Hi, everybody.
We had to give you your warranted applause.
Thank you. I'm honored. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you to your production team as well. Thank you to our brothers and sisters and all the allies watching the show, supporting us and energizing us just as we need to energize myself effectively. I did take a nap because right after the show, less than 15 minutes after, I need to be on the road.
Oh my
A
God.
good 3-hour drive.
Well, I'll probably be checking in with you during the show. During your drive, sorry. Just to check in and just see what's going on. You shared some stuff with me before we went live. So I just want to get some if you're willing to get some more detail to make sure everything's okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's good. What's been going on in your world?
Well, work, addressing workplace culture and doing the nature of the work that I do, uh, you know, simplified for people in terms of speaking of EDI, but really addressing power relations and helping to create better workplace cultures because truly society, one institution, one department, and many individuals at a time. And other than that, hopefully the weather is good because Friday taking the family off to Paris, to France. Mm.
Whoa!
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a family wedding, but at the same time, it would be a great opportunity to visit my baby sister and her newborn child. So,
All right. Well, uh, that yeah, I'm glad that you're getting to. And how long are you gone for?
oh, only a week. I can't stand being in France for more than 2 weeks. So, a week. No. A week.
Okay.
I have too much work here, and I mean, I grew up over there, so a week is fine, and we'll return. Yeah.
Now I have a wonderful, and we never want you to stop talking about EDI. I was listening.
Mhm.
I've been so. Are you familiar with an event called Essence Fest?
I know about it. Yes.
So I was doing some reading. Once in a while, I take a look in the media, and there were a little bit of a downer this year about Essence Fest. There was the attendance was down, and it also
Mhm.
seemed to have something to do because of and thus well one of the main sponsors obviously from what I understand was Target, and they weren't sponsoring this year, and
Mhm.
it just the whole black economy as it relates to the pullback in a lot of areas in EDI. You know, a lot of our sisters who worked as consultants, etc.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
know, and then the United States, in the last 3 or 4 months, about 100,000 women have lost their jobs. But a lot of people think that maybe because of the EDI. Do you have any thoughts on that you'd like to share with us?
No, it's absolutely the case, and let me put it to you in perspectives here. Um, I am as well a human rights consultant, certified by the United States Institute of Democracy and Human Rights.
Okay.
And I recall I can't remember exactly if it was last year or in 2023, um, some of the measures that the Florida governor Ron DeSantis, um, you know, some call him death sentence, etc. Some of
Well,
the measures that he took.
just interrupt. You know what Dr. Tachi calls him?
Mm.
The Satan.
Oh, now I don't go that far, as you know my views regarding fictional characters, but effectively, some of the measures that he took regarding education, regarding EDI, aka the war on woke, absolutely led to many colleagues of mine, EDI, human rights, social justice work in universities and colleges losing their work, and effectively it is a disproportionately high number of black women. It is not an accident. If we go back, we are in 2025. If we go back 40 to 50 years ago, it is through corporatism that began the shifting of gender dynamics in the black community, aka easier entry path for black women, aka the Afro or the Black Panther sister, uh, going down and adding the weaves and the wigs in order to enter the corporate place and be better accepted. But that with, of course, the welfare system and the penalizing of black men, aka increase of single motherhood household for government benefits, while at the same time we must always hold black men accountable for their actions, of course, just as we should as well hold black women. But to go further than that, as you speak regarding of this aspect of EDI, is the fact that um, so now we are in July. If I'm not mistaken, it was in June. We have our very respected brother, Reverend Al Sharpton, who did lead a boycott campaign, notably against Target. Some of the daughters of the founders of Target also opposed the board decision to basically side with Trump in regards to fighting against DEI. So, absolutely, there is actually, Dr. Vibe, you are privy to the some of the senior leaders and public servants emails that are sent, that are shared in terms of EDI links and resources. And I often talk about the war on EDI, and really a war. It's more than a culture shift. It's really part of the greater conversation in terms of the confrontation of social justice, which was pushed forward from abolitionists to civil rights movement, but also feminism, LGBTQ advocacy, environmental rights, etc., versus the pushback slash white lash slash white supremacy, who are looking at changing demographics, thus electoral patterns, thus the fight against EDI, but also against immigration and the very notion of, example, birthright citizenship. All of these things are linked. It is not loose connections. Is that once you see the connections, and notably the topics that we're going to talk about, one of the topics we're going to talk about, once you see the connection, it's really in all aspects of society, just as when I denounce the three cancers of the black psyche, entertainment, consumerism, and religion, really woven into this whole conversation in terms of EDI, but also the very white lash slash white supremacist pushback against social justice and progress, overwhelmingly for black and brown people, but also benefiting, and too often we forget to mention this, poor white people. Let's not forget our heroes, such as uh, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, just as Fred Hampton and many others. They didn't just fight for the black cause, they also fought for socioeconomic progress of minorities. And in minorities, unfortunately, too many of them don't realize they are part of minorities, poor white people.
Mm, so true. So true. All right. We are going to take a break for about 30 seconds. Then we come back, do a little bit of housework, and then I'm going to give Cesar the choice of one. We have two stories, I think, that dominated a lot of the media last week. We'll have him decide which one he wants to jump in on first. But let's go on a break, and we'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I'm around, it's the home of epic conversations.
So many of us are blind to the fact that they don't know what they don't know.
We sort of appreciate all the help that we're given, all the help that the government is giving us, but we as people, we have to unite together.
Confidence is something that's very impactful, because that is something that you carry with you.
Oh, that mic drop. All right. So, and that is the morning vibe. Monday and Friday mornings, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 6 a.m. Pacific, with myself and Ryan O'Neill. Night. Please check it out. So let's get to some conversation. No, let's get to homework. First things first. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and Substack. To advertise your business, product, or service on our show, please email me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. Cannot forget our good friend Dr. Tachi, who's the power behind Indie Soup TV, independent content creators platform, in about 14, 15 months, coming up on 20,000 YouTube subscribers. And I always tell Dr. Tachi, never forget this, that only 10% of all YouTube channels have over 10,000 subscribers. Also, if you want to get a hold of Cesar, you can email him, president at Roots and Culture Canada, and Facebook, Cesar Remy Emery. Cesar, what of the two stories do you want to tackle this week first? You have muted yourself, my brother. Got to unmute yourself. There we go.
Yes. I would say let us start speaking about Trump and we can finish with
Okay.
Puffy.
Okay. 47's big, beautiful bill. Go.
Well, look,
I don't, when you're, oh boy, when you say, I haven't heard you say that. Look. Okay. Go for it, my brother.
well, I am of mixed position regarding this. First of all, I'm speaking of it taking a step back as I live in Canada. So let us uh, let us be humble in our opinions, whichever they are. But what I would say, very truthfully, is this: chose to elect and re-elect Donald Trump. As I've said many times, I feel no sympathy for someone who voted for Donald Trump, fully knowing what Donald Trump was saying. And Dr. Vibe, you are my witness. What did I say? The best way to, uh, arguably, the best way to combat Donald Trump policies are to actually let them happen so that
Mhm.
people can actually get a taste of what they voted for. Now, I don't want anyone to be thinking, Cesar, where is your lack of empathy? This is not, the humanitarian or even Pan Africanist vision. But no, 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 no. No hypocrisy here. Let me put it to you in perspective. Some people are having voters' remorse. Joe Rogan on his podcast started alarming himself, has started speaking up openly in regards to some of the policies of Trump, and it's not just regarding immigration. When you look at Candace Owens, she said it live on Piers Morgan about how she is ashamed in regards to a lot of the policies that Trump has taken, notably being very pro-Israel, but also in terms of many Americans, Tucker Carlson, for example. This is not the America first that they had in mind. They've seen the nature of the policies, and you add to this the whole conversation regarding inflation, in regards to tariffs. And here we are now with the so called Big Beautiful Bill, in which we can not deny that Trump really took to measures of so called arm twisting and forcing votes for a bill by many Republicans who analysts have been saying they're committing political suicide when the impact of this bill, aka the largest, some people talking about corruption scheme, some people talking about tax debt increase, sorry, to the nation, but really there seems to be an understanding, even in terms of right-wing media, that this is a greater tax increase upon middle class and poor people
Mhm.
benefit the rich upper class, notably millionaires and billionaires class. It becomes problematic in the sense in which, arguably, you have here the most president of the United States, and this is not my opinion. There are studies to that effect that are judging Trump as the most corrupt. I'm saying this with a certain historical perspective. If you look at, for example, the four American presidents on Mount Rushmore, they do have a dark legacy. Thomas Jefferson, raping slaves, etc. So Trump definitely belongs on Mount Rushmore, but not necessarily in terms of making America great again. And
Hmm.
here, bill that he has put in place, despite all the strategies such as people talking about some of the impact will be felt after the midterms. When Billy Bob, aka stereotypical white male name into country music, for those who get Billy Bob, the name, when Billy Bob will see that his ma or grandma, Medicaid, her pills have so much increased, or even that some of the services that she requires, but also even him, such as example in terms of SNAP program and other programs, are either no longer accessible or they cost so much more. More and more people will have voted for Trump, aka for Daddy, aka for the return of white supremacists against those communists, those blacks, those LGBTQs, those Jews, those Muslims. I can go on down the list, but many of those MAGA voters, including black MAGA voters, aka self hating, if you ask me, that's when they will start to feel that impact. This bill, and I'm not putting it there just, it's not an opinion. Whether from reading the Washington Post to Forbes, whether people like traditional or mainstream media such as CNN or Fox, There is an acknowledgement that this bill does not benefit the middle class and poor population, which is only increasing in the United States, and it is foreseen the impact of this bill will indeed increase poverty while enriching a small minority, and notably the 1 and less than 1%. This is how you create revolution. For those who don't know this, every revolution has to be seen not just in terms of the big historical conversation in terms of power, but a reality in terms of economic realities of the average person. The French Revolution, over 100 years of time in the setting up of it, truly began with the price of bread for the average French woman in Paris, 1788, 1789. You look at uh, all the other revolutions were violence and the topping up of regimes, the hardening of life. That's what happened. And this, unfortunately, the way I'm seeing it, or maybe I should say fortunately, when you add the economic realities that are becoming harder with stories such as, I just give an example regarding Trump's policies regarding immigration. People thought he was just going to be deporting those gang bangers and criminals. No, arresting average, let's be honest, his advisor, Laura Loomer, talking about 65 million meals at Alcatraz. Coincidentally, statistics of 65 million Latinos in the US, a targeting of the Latino population, many of them who voted for Trump. So you see, they had to be held accountable. But the picking up of regular people working, sure, undocumented, but without a path to regularization, without proper due process, picking them up, violating them. The video of that man who was assaulted on the street. Meanwhile, this Latino man has three children, three sons who are Marines. Woman being deported while her husband served the U.S. Army. So many stories that are coming up. This bill, I really think, among many of Trump policies, will be another defining moment. I'm not saying the last, but when people will really feel it. Dr. Vibe, we're in July. I told you it's gonna be a hot
Hot
summer.
summer. Yes, I always remember that.
Remember Game of Thrones? Winter is coming. It's
Hmm.
gonna be a cold winter as well.
All right. So true. And I always remember it's hot outside, but it's also hot in the US. All right. I want to put up a screen share here so we
Mhm.
can take a look. And I'm just going to go through an article that was on USA Today. Big, Beautiful Bill 101, what you need to know about the law. So going through it saying extension of the 2017 tax cuts. This is the biggest item costing $3.7 trillion over the next 10 years, according to the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation. That's money the federal government won't collect. Cuts to healthcare and food programs. These proposed reductions will save about 1.3 trillion based on a June 17 report from the Congressional Budget Office. Here are some forecasts from the Penn Wharton budget model forecasts the lowest income households will be left worse off because of cuts to Medicare and SNAP, formerly known as food stamps. Those Americans could lose over $27,500 over a lifetime, while the highest income households will gain more than $65,000. How people at every income level will fare. If your income falls below $58,000, you're likely to lose benefits from programs such as Medicaid, health insurance marketplaces, supplemental nutrition assistance, SNAP, and student loans. So, also, who will benefit the least? People who make uh, you'll lose income if you're under 20,000. You make under $20,000 a year, you're going to lose $885,000. If your income is between 20,000 and 58,000, you're going to lose $1,090. But if your income's above $45,000, no, if your income's above 50, between 58,000 and $105,000, 45, you'll gain $45. If your income's above is between 105,000 to 195,000, you're going to gain $2,505. I think this is maybe yearly. I guess average changes in 2030. So, who will benefit the most? The top, if your income is in the top 1%, you'll have even a greater benefit in 2027. You'll save over $300,000, partially because the other changes that will sunset by 2030. Oh my goodness. So,
Stefan, this is the logic of I'm forgetting the proper term, but
trickle
oh
down,
yes,
trickle down,
top down. Yes,
trickle
there
down.
you go. Trickle down economics, which tax breaks for the rich, so they reinvest into the economy and
That don't
society.
work. That don't work.
There you go. There you go. There you
That
go. That
don't
doesn't
work.
work. And here I'm having. I mean, I don't like the expression thoughts and prayers, but it might apply. There is a professional sector in the United States that will be impacted, but maybe not the way people are thinking. Those in police forces overwhelmingly voted for Trump and for Republicans. Dr. Vibe, what happens when you impoverish more a population, notably by cutting off of benefits and social assistance programs? What usually happens more?
Uprising, anger,
Increase of poverty directly leads to increase of crime
crime. Yep.
and basically discontentment that turns into violence.
Yep. Yep.
And eventually that violence turns towards the representative of the state, such as for most people, the easiest people to see as representative of the state are the men and women in blue. People don't tend to hate firefighters.
No.
People don't tend to hate people who are who are driving the ambulance.
No. First
But,
responders.
but the men and women in blue. So this is a perfect example. This notion of, basically it's been said many times, notably regarding the tariffs. Trump's economic mindset, aka Mr. The Art of the Deal, aka Mr. Drain the Swamp in Washington, while he's adding to corruption and grifting himself, from perfumes to Bible to whatever you want to call it.
Cell
But
phones.
yeah, cell phone. And here we basically see that Trump's mind in terms of economics, and I didn't believe this at first, but it's kind of like the tariffs. He's 40 years behind. Trickle down economics is talking about he's 40 years behind. It doesn't work.
It didn't work then, and it's not going to work now.
Didn't work.
The rich will keep the money for themselves and invest in the stock market. It's not going to go into the economy. So I guess we're just going to finish up with this article. What areas would get more money from the bill? More for defense, increases spending
Of
by
course.
153 billion. More for border security, 150 billion. Private
Mhm.
colleges, tax applies to schools with more than 3,000 tuition paying students. What didn't change? Fossil fuel projects, truck emissions, postal service, financial watchdogs, such as the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, can't have their funding cut, can't reduce federal staff's pay. What areas will get less? Medicaid. 11.8 million people could lose their health insurance coverage over the next decade. Wow. Then, program will not fund services at clinics that perform abortions, tightens rules for payments to states, SNAP, green energy rollbacks. So all those things, and the debt is going to increase. The debt right now, the debt to GDP ratio is 117%. With this bill, it's going to now come to 124% or 7.1% of GDP.
And who will benefit from this? China, Japan, uh, Russia. Yes, Russia, and also many of the oil rich kingdoms in the Middle East, because Trump's beyond the grifting is putting America in a further situation of dependency, but also false competition. I mean, who are the owners of American debt? Japan and China own a large large chunk of American debt. This is um, It's been said many times regarding Trump, it doesn't make sense unless you are willing to accept that it benefits him. It benefits his family.
Well,
It
this is
benefits his inner circle. It's it's literally but Americans voted for him. Like Joe Rogan, Candace Owens, they're not having voters regret. Candace Owens, I mean, this is so I've started to agree with the sister. Here I am calling her sister when I refer to her so many times as Kundes.
yes,
Kundes.
yes, you have.
But it's like she's starting to make sense. But what happened that she didn't see before, that she couldn't see before? Was it such dislike of Kamala Harris? Was it such dislike of the Democrats that basically blinded? And it's okay. She honestly give her respect. She has. It's not about and I'm not here. I'm not pro Democrats. It's not that. But she has been honest and forthcoming in recognizing. She said she's ashamed to have told people to vote for Trump because this is not what she voted for. I was very impressed. Joe Rogan is having reflections on air. Tucker Carlson is calling out Ted Cruz in terms of you want to go bomb Iran and you don't know anything about them. It's not just the big, beautiful bill. It's not just the tariffs or the immigration. It's literally anything and everything in regards to this man, as Kamala Harris said, he is not serious, but you have to take seriously what he says because it will have an impact on you. And that's exactly what's happening. I am telling you, all the Billy Bobs who voted for Trump, you will feel the pain of your vote.
Well, it's interesting, and that's one thing a lot of commentators are saying is that the people who supported him are going to be the people who are going to take a lot of people who supported him are going to feel the brunt of this big beautiful bill,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're going to feel the brunt of it, and it's and the Republicans are very sneaky. You know when all this stuff goes into effect?
Oh, 2027. They said they're basically planning after the midterms, hoping. So it is a political strategy. Pass every hard bill from the very start so that you give yourself a cushion time by the midterm so for people to have forgotten or to be less angry so that you can demonize the other side in terms of all the evil things they can bring. Republicans and notably Trump do that all the time. They've been doing that all the time. Just look at the perfect example of what's his name? The Democratic candidate for New York City mayoral elections, Zoran Mamdani. If
Yes.
I hope I said his name correctly, in terms of him being depicted as he hates Jews on Fox News. Meanwhile, he has a large population of Jewish people supporting this man, Zoran, who is openly Muslim, born in Africa, etc., etc. So they need the fear mongering. And this is the same thing as Trump did. Let's go back to when Obama was president, the birther conspiracies, the fear mongering, the scapegoating, the always. Trump is still pointing, talking about Biden.
Yeah.
So it's the appeal to the stupidity, to the fear, ignorance, etc. of voters, creating the enemy of your neighbor. That's what's happening. And let's not lie to ourselves. Many of those ICE people on the street, they're not exactly agents. I am growing furthermore as many to think there might be some white supremacists slash notably proud boys who are taking part into it to arrest and deport uh, immigrant looking. I'm saying immigrant looking because somehow those white immigrants who are unregulated from Europe, they're not being deported.
Well, I have a funny feeling some of the people who were involved in the January 6th insurrection are them.
That doesn't surprise me.
No,
That doesn't surprise me.
I just have that feeling that they're because they're all wearing masks, so we don't know who they are.
We don't know who they are. They're not identifying themselves, the number, anything. So yeah, no, 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 no surprise at all.
We don't know who they are, and you know, I think just want to add on with that, Cesar. This is what when more and more people. are getting frustrated with the American political system. And this is how was it? Oh, these are how fraction groups come up into play. You have your Proud Boys. You have, oh gosh, what was the Republican movement from a number of years ago? And there was still, oh, I can't remember.
Tea Party, the Tea Party.
This is how the Tea Party became popular,
Mhm.
because people were just becoming frustrated how things were becoming. And I just see the American populace becoming more fragmented
Of course.
and more saying, you know what? We don't want anything to do with this. We're done. And I think in a way that's what the Republicans want.
Absolutely, because they need. It's kind of like in terms of the elections, Dr. Vibe. You got to look at the fact of Democrats send the message of trusting the system as there's a shift in demographics. Even without looking at immigration, there's a shift in demographics where you have example whites are having a lower than 2.2 birth rate per woman, 2.2 being the magical number for not just reproduction but also increase slash growth. Meanwhile, you have minorities that have an increase over 2.2, Latinos, but also blacks, and especially Africans. I've said it many times. Statistics, very serious statistics in regards to the end of this century, speak to one human in three will be African. I didn't even say black. So when you add all of that, so this to white supremacists is terrifying because white birth rates have been plummeting. Whether you look at North America or you look at Europe, and even when you we extend Japan, South Korea, even China actually, uh, it is the black and brown minorities whose numbers are increasing. You look at India, you look at South America, and particularly you look at Africa. The reality of the world that's projected to be in 2025, from 2050 to 2100, is a world in which the conversation is not simply regarding immigration and demographics. It translates into power because in a democratic system, you win by 50.1%.
That's all it
This
takes.
is part of the reason. This is part of the reason when you see a state such as Israel um, under the current administration of Benjamin Netanyahu and the far right leaders and ministers who are there, the very obvious desire to turn Israel into a Jewish nation like, for example, Iran, Saudi Arabia, are Islamic nations. A Jewish nation, by definition, is not a democratic nation because it clearly states that those who are Jewish, and let's be honest, those who are white Jewish of European background are the dominant identity. You look at the United States and Canada, technically, they're not Christian nation. It's not the Christian nation of Canada. You know, uh, Populists and politicians can take that narrative, but technically, in terms of the Constitution, the United States, just as Canada or France, are not Christian nations. There are secular nations. The changes that are coming in terms that are ongoing, I shouldn't even say coming, that are ongoing in regards to demographics lead those um, uh, uh, right wing populists, many say fascists, white supremacists, etc. That's what is literally frightening them. But they're the ones who created this whole situation. You look at from immigration to the very policies that they enacted. I mean, many people don't realize, for example, the United States brought in many thousands of Mexican farmers following World War II. But neoliberalism in the 80s literally in increasing the riches of the upper class, especially 1%, needed cheap labor cheap labor, from moving the factories to China and other poorer countries, to bringing in lower working class immigration. So it is places like the Home Depot and other places that hire undocumented workers, wanting to make more revenues, aka for the shareholders that are contributing to uh, lowering wages for the migrants, and by default, the poor class and the middle class, and thus more numbers, etc., etc. It's numbers and statistics make a big difference in understanding this issue, but ultimately, big beautiful bill, tariffs, immigration, you name it, it all translates with demographics, which translates to elections, and it translates to power.
Hmm. And I just saw on my phone here, Florida approves a second alligator Alcatraz migrant detention center. Wow. Wow.
Something's gonna blow, Dr. Vibe. Something's gonna blow. It
Something's
will
got
be
to
a different type of January 6th is in the making.
I would not
It's,
doubt
unfor- it's unfortunate because in such situations, innocents get harmed, innocent get killed. Just look at, please allow me, I just remember this. Was it over the weekend? The floods in Texas, in
yes.
which was it 14 children
Well,
went
let me just
missing?
32 dead, including 14 children in Texas floods. That was as of yesterday.
There you go. Well, who has basically brought the chainsaw to FEMA? This administration. Just as just as talking about helicopters, planes crashing. Again, this administration. This will be studied. I really want people to understand this administration will be studied in political history classes, sociology classes for years to come. But what will also be studied is why is it and how did it come to be that Americans, in a time of mass education, mass knowledge, mass information, still voted for this person, fully knowing what he said.
Project
You can't call Donald Trump a
2025.
hypocrite.
Project
Yeah,
2025. But
you
and he
can't
but
call.
he said he didn't know anything about it. Yeah, right.
Basic. So people chose to believe a person who had been caught lying so many times. And again, Joe Rogan, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, you know, people of the right who are having voters' remorse. Did they feel their hands tied? Even the vote on the big beautiful bill. How is it that those congressmen and women of the
Yeah.
Republican Party who were saying they would vote against it suddenly voted for it? Political suicide. I cannot feel sympathy for Trump voters. Not because I'm a Democrat, because I am not a Democrat, but I cannot feel sympathy for people who choose the poison that they complain about after.
Point well taken. All right. Our second conversation point, and we're only doing two today. And it was funny because when Cesar said he wanted to talk about these things, I'm thinking about a third one. I said, I don't think you need more than two. These two are more than enough. They're more than enough. So, our second and last conversation today, Sean Diddy Combs mixed verdict.
Uh, and I apologize. I know we will get to come back on it. I just felt that we had to say something about it, as um, on a black show. We cannot be pretending to be a black show that address all aspects of black people's life and not talk about what to many people. Uh, I mean, I don't like the comparison. They talk about the OJ trial of the generation. I really don't think it compares to the OJ trial. The dynamics are not exactly the same. What I've always said in regards to this, and I am limited in time, unfortunately, Dr. Vibe, but what I've always said is Diddy Puffy is guilty, but to what extent? So the RICO case against him, that was to me overcharging. It was far fetched, but definitely guilty. And I'm not saying guilty in terms of the recording of I'm going to use the expression that has been used so many times, savage beating that he applied upon Cassandra Ventura. No, he was not on trial for domestic violence, but effectively, when we look at prostitution and transport, yes, of course, guilty, but to what extent? So, not found guilty of the most serious charges, notably of racketeering slash RICO. But at the same time, and um, this is a conversation in which many people not only feel triggered, not only respond with their emotions. Just as I condemn those who rejoice in uh, Diddy's not guilty verdict to the point of the scene outside of the court with black people oiling themselves. It's embarrassing, especially embarrassing. When I talk about entertainment being the number one cancer of our community, that's not to be what I mean. It's embarrassing. Uh, Puffy, we can love his music, we can love what he has brought to hip hop, but we can denounce the man. We can denounce what he has done in private that has come to light, and we must denounce it. Yet, we must have the uncomfortable conversation that many people, especially black women, don't want to have in regards to the fact of far too many of our sisters, women in general, but also men, are willing to go to great lengths for a taste of fame and fortune, notably with celebrity, despite toxic behaviors upon them. This is notably why, from what I've seen, from what I read, there is a possibility of a lawsuit against Cassie Ventura by one of the male prostitutes, if we are to use the proper terms, uh, as he basically feels Cassie was the one orchestrating the freak offs, aka the orgies,
Oh boy.
gang, you name it, uh, in which, yes, she was a victim, absolutely. We have to address the notions of consent in the black community and all communities, of course, but the actors here are overwhelmingly black. We have to address the notion of consent and understand that consent at moment A does not mean consent at moment D, E, or F. And it's not just a conversation in which women are victim, men are also victim. However, we have to have the conversation regarding how any can be victims, but also accomplices entering an entangled web of deception and pain and hurt, in which one of those male prostitutes wants to see Cassie Ventura, because as he said, it was Cassandra Ventura who would bring forth uh, the free cops, organized them, and as it was revealed in court, talking about loving and missing Puffy and wanting to do this. So we can talk about all the psychology in regards to dominance, predation, and how Stockholm syndrome, etc., etc. But we cannot deny that we need to have an honest conversation about uh, all that shines is no gold, and we live in a society that has kept projecting far too often the image, the lust, the desire of fame, of fortune at any cost upon vulnerable people, upon people coming from broken household, broken families, absentee father household. And please don't misunderstand me. I am not blaming even at all single mothers, not to be single black mothers. I'm also addressing and holding accountable black fathers, not to be single black fathers or absentee slash deadbeat fathers, but it's a conversation we need to have together instead of just pointing fingers while falsely thinking that our side is the right side. Because if not, today Puffy, yesterday R. Kelly, who's next? Who's next? Remember R. Kelly? Yeah, of course, he did all the bad things he did, but parents were complicit. But did those parents get sent to jail? Puffy, same situation. Look at the other lady, Joy, 50 Cent baby mother, second baby mother. The loss, the money, the $10,000 to basically serve as a sexual object. We
Mm.
need conversation. It's a reflection of our society. It's a reflection of culture. It's a reflection of, as I speak, Entertainment, consumerism, and religion, the three cancers of the black psyche. And far too often, these people are put at the forefront as being the elites of our community. Why is it that most of our young black people, especially, will recognize the image of Sean Puffy Combs, but have no clue what is Robert Smith, have no clue what is Aliko Dangote? Meanwhile, they are unable to give the name of the Chinese or Jewish version of Puffy. They're unable to. They're unable to.
Mm. Well, I
Really,
just,
really bothers me.
I unfortunately time doesn't allow to go deeper, but I'm just going to say some quick things. And also, if you're watching the Morning Vibe tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., we're going to go deeper into this whole situation. But the thing is, and we'll talk about more tomorrow morning. This, like, we have to look at this also in a broader state. Diddy's case is just the tip of the iceberg. Most sexual predators aren't convicted. According to RAIN, R-A, the acronym RAINN, Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network in the United States, out of every 1,000 sexual assaults in the United States, only about 310 are reported to police. Of those, only 25 lead to jail time for the perpetrator. That means fewer than 3% of all rapists are ever spend any time in jail. So it's staggering that most perpetrators of sexual violence face any real consequences. And we need to ask ourselves this. And then the impact of, what is this a bigger fact about victims coming forward in such a trial like this, where Mr. Combs did not get convicted of these assaults? You have to think.
Well,
Go ahead.
we have to put it in perspective. He was not on trial for assault nor domestic violence. However, as Cassandra Ventura, Cassie, came forward, it led to an increase of women, notably women, calling to report that they have been victimized of sexual assault, which is a good thing, a great thing. But I want our people to have a deeper conversation on notably what leads, why are we having so many of our people, of our youth and adults entering these relationships. Many people did clearly say, notably online, many people, including women, clearly talked about it wasn't that big of a deal. They would have taken that deal, they would have accepted the abuses that Cassie suffered for their life of fame and fortune. We are really at a problematic situation as a society because now if we enforces the notion it's okay, you can go ahead, you will get out of it, or and also kind of I don't know if you heard about the situation, but it was maybe 2 3 years ago. African women who got exposed, African girls in the 20s and 30s, who got exposed for certain riches in Western Africa, but it was revealed that it's because they were taking part in what's called porta basically participating in scatology, basically pee, poo, to use such terms, in the Middle East by rich men. We as a community, so these are some of the consequences of poverty, of broken families, of broken communities. It's not just a matter of simply pointing a finger at an individual as it was revealed to be regarding Cassie, she talked about Jay Z already being taken, aka how and why would I leave Puffy to be with whom of that level? So yes, we must blame and condemn the behavior of Sean Puffy Combs of Diddy. We must. But let's stop being hypocrites in not addressing the deeper layers of why such happens or what leads to this happening, the creation of predators, the creation of victims, but also of those who become victims and accomplices.
Well, we'll have to start wrapping it down fairly quick. But also, I think we need to take a look at another separate conversation, hopefully, about how are we raising boys, not just protecting girls. I think there,
I would, yes. No, go
you
ahead,
know,
go ahead.
we have to shift the focus to raising boys, not to become perpetrators.
I would disagree partially with that, Dr. Vibe. Uh, there are more and more studies that show that that boys and men are also very much victim of girls and women, just in a different lens, notably on a psychological level, but also psycho-emotionally and financially. We need to re-educate boys and girls just as men and women, because too often, example, a classic case that happen is psychological violence from the female to the male eventually leads to physical violence of the male to the female. We only see the end result, but we don't see the whole creation and patterns that come to be. Absolutely, we must address boys and men in this society, notably as we're having a so-called red pill movement,
Yep.
masculinists, and we have basically a man, I don't, rapist, some people would say, sexual assault at the White House. The messages that he
All
sent.
right, it comes right, well, right at the top of U.S. government. You got that right there. Like, and I just want,
You,
I hear that so I just say we not only have to tell our daughters how to stay safe, but we need to teach our sons about respect, consent, and boundaries from an early age.
absolutely. The challenge that I tell people though, we have to teach both. We
Oh
have
yes,
to
yes, I
we have,
agree.
we have to teach, no, because you see, something that I always remind people, a woman's biggest fear, and I'm speaking of course as not being a woman, but uh, having the honor and privilege of presenting notably on women's issues, a woman's biggest fear tends to be rape and murder by a man. A man's biggest fear tends to be loss of respect and dishonor by a woman, which for some, not many, but for some, for too many, can lead to murder. We need to address both genders. The notions that we can just keep pointing a finger at just one gender, that's feminist rhetoric, which is shown and seen to fail time and time again. We cannot have boys born from women, and notably in the black community, too often raised by single mothers, to surprise ourselves at the dysfunctions and the predictable outcomes that they become, notably in the mistreatment of girls and women. Because in that same conversation, notably, and in those same households, they're raised with sisters.
All right. On that point, I know Cesar, you've got to make a move, and we probably
Yes,
kept you a little bit longer than you could. But as always, we want to
you
say,
know.
yeah, we want to say thank you for taking the time to
Thank
hang
you.
out with us today. If people want to get in contact with Cesar, email president at rootsandculturecanada.com, and you can catch him on Facebook at Cesar Remy Emery. Have a safe trip. I'll probably give you a call when you're in the drive mode this evening. As always,
Thank you so. Thank
all
you
the
so
best.
much. I appreciate it.
All the best to you and your family. As always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace. And we'll chat with you soon.
Thank you.
Take care, Cesar. All
Thank you.
right. All right. Cesar has to run. So that's it. But we will certainly go deeper into that conversation topic real soon. So let's wrap it up. As always, let's do it. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and Substack. To advertise your business product or service on any of the platforms that I'm on, please feel to email me, dr period, VIBE at the dr, VIBESHOW.com. As always, you can catch me on my website at thedrvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show, Instagram at the DRVIBESHOW, X/Twitter at DRVIBESHOW, email dr period, VIBE at the DRVIBESHOW.com. Also on Substack, which we're broadcasting now on a regular basis. I think I've got it finally figured it out. drvibe.substack.com/subscribe, and Blue Sky at drvibe.bsky.social. And you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the Dr. Vibe Show website. Didn't put it up today, but also you can touch base with me on Discord. Forgot to put that up, but I am. If you just put in Dr. Vibe on Discord, you can touch base with me there also. Let's close it out. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller, get stronger. Block assumptions. Aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both. And finally, make it better. As always, God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith, walk good, and we'll catch you soon. Take care.
Just take a quick moment.
Yeah.
You just introduce yourself. Let Dr. Vibe welcome you into the show. As I told
Oh.
you, Dr. Vibe.
No. I welcome and really good to have you here. I didn't want to. You were on a roll. I didn't want to interrupt. You were on a roll, but
In an award created by whites, dominated by whites, run by whites. And you're a billionaire, bro. FYI, I don't. It's probably the first time of the year that I use the word bro.
yes, it is. That's the first time, as long as I've known you, you used it.
My daughter would laugh.
But for many people, the economy ain't great. There we go. I saw that.